I have been a long-time lurker here, and the posts here have been giving me insight into the highly toxic and emotionally hurtful relationship I have been in with my husband of almost 10 years. We have 2 kids together, a 4-year-old girl and a 1-year-old boy. I will be changing some minor details to minimize identification. What happened yesterday? I woke up to find that the baby peed through his diaper. His current diapers have occasional fit issues. Okay, it happens. I took off his diaper and was about to put a new one on when he bolted bare bottom. Now, a bit of background. He has never held a real job since the end of his military career, years before we met. So he does rideshare driving, which means he wakes up and goes to sleep at odd hours. This, combined with his horrid snoring, led to us having separate bedrooms early on, which works well for us for the most part. The baby ran straight into his room with me behind, and I asked my husband, who was still in bed watching videos on his phone, "Can you put the diaper on him?" He responded in a somewhat sarcastic tone, "You are right there, and you are completely capable of doing that yourself." I said, "I need to help our little girl with her clothes," and he interrupted and said, "She is having her breakfast." So I also said, "I need to take my shower," and he ignored that and said, "Wow, you aren't even trying hard to put the diaper on the baby." At this point, I noticed that the pee had wet his shirt as well, so the baby needed a bath. I put him in the tub without water and let him sit with the toys while I quickly ran to grab his washcloth and new clothes. When I got back, I saw that the baby had now let his bowels loose in the tub and was trying to touch his toys as well. I'm autistic and slowly getting overwhelmed, so initially I said, "Oh my God," and then took him out along with every single toy and started cleaning the mess. I went back and asked my husband, "Can you at least watch the baby so that he won't grab poop?" I got cut short again with a typical arrogant and exasperated yell, "Why do I have to?" And I interrupted him saying, "Because you are a parent," and slammed the door shut. For the next hour, I cleaned each and every item over and over as my boy continued to touch either dirty stuff after I cleaned his hands or clean items after touching the dirty stuff. My little girl came upstairs multiple times to check on us and ask what happened and to offer help. The father stayed in bed the whole time. Later, while I was in the kitchen, he said, "So do you want to tell me what that was all about?" I said, "Oh, so now you want to know? You couldn't care enough to ask me when I was interrupted." He responded, "How do I know you need help when you never asked?" I replied, feeling angry. "What? I did ask. I came to your room and..." Interrupted. He yelled, "You never asked! You never asked! You never asked! You never asked!" And on while I was trying to explain in vain how I did ask twice. I almost lost my voice when I realized he didn't care about my explanation. He was in his usual gaslighting mode. I had my autistic meltdown. So I said at full volume, while he was still yelling, "You never asked! Go die! Go Fing die! Go away forever! I hate you! I hate you!" He suddenly became silent, totally shocked. At that point I said, still seething, "Me and these kids will be so much better without you." He mumbled in shock, Where is this coming from?" I said, "From all the crap I've been putting up with for so long." We haven't really spoken since. My regret comes here. My children heard the whole thing and my 4-year-old tells me, "Mommy, that's not nice. You shouldn't say that." I am so mad that I agree with her and still keep going. I don't even remember what all I said. I talked to her later, apologized that she had to hear that, and told her she need not worry, but I worry that a lot of damage has been done. This is just the tip of the iceberg. I can provide more details if asked. I just need advice on how to move forward. He has been draining me over the years, and I have been so depressed that I lost a 20-year software engineering career in July and have been trying a career switch since, currently working on a minimum wage temporary job. Please help, good people. I don't like what I've become. To add, thank you so much, everyone. You all are the support so many of us need, especially those like me who have literally no family and no real friends I can truly trust and rely on. I didn't mention earlier that the spectrum of autism I have, unfortunately, makes me have zero spatial or directional awareness, which also makes it practically impossible for me to learn to drive. I have tried with 5 different trainers on both manual and automatic transmission with the same results. Most of my information technology career in the United States was remote, while in my home country we have excellent public transportation. So this was not an impediment before, but it is now, massively. Plus the fact that his near daily eating out habit at one point has put us in a financial hole. I promise you all, I am determined to give my children the life I couldn't have, and right now I am taking small but steady steps towards regaining my financial independence so that we can eventually move to a city where cars aren't mandatory. Since my layoff in July, I have already worked towards and received 2 of my insurance licenses and have just started working as a health insurance agent. I know it's going to take time, but you all have given me both the strength and the drive to keep going and to keep myself from exploding again in a way that ruins it for my kids and me. I might come back with an update sometime, although it could be even a few months down the line. Sorry. I am willing to put up the fight for my children's peaceful future so that they don't have to. Thank you all once again. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Divorce him. You'll be happier for it and glad you did it now rather than later. You're married and a single mother. That lazy, incompetent husband is dragging you down like an anchor. Matter of fact, it's worse than an anchor. He's a hydraulic press crushing you into dust. He doesn't parent. He doesn't really work. He simply exists and occupies space and wastes time. A dog or cat would be more helpful and useful. I know for a fact you're pulling in the main source of income. Emotionally hurtful for now, but take the steps to leave him in one fell swoop. Comment 2. You have 3 children in the house, a 1-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 44-year-old. A divorce can easily fix this. If he's not improving your life in any way, then he's dead weight. I will not let an Uber or Lyft driver ruin my career as a software engineer. There's too much schooling that goes into that. Lose the loser. Now for the update. I was just posting about my toxic relationship, and a lot has happened since then. I can't decide right now. I need more time to think. A few days after the last incident, I was getting ready for my daughter's 4th birthday party at a local community center. My husband insisted on coming, saying he wanted to be part of our daughter's special day. I reluctantly agreed, wanting to keep things calm for the kids. On the morning of the party, he was late and I was rushing with last-minute stuff. He finally showed up, but instead of helping out, he was on his phone ignoring the mess around him. Family started to arrive, including my parents and my sister, who brought her kids. The vibe was tense, but the kids were excited, running around with balloons and decorations. During the cake cutting, my husband made a sarcastic comment that the cake was just okay, which embarrassed me in front of my family. My sister, noticing the tension, tried to lighten the mood by cracking jokes, but my husband shut her down with a dismissive remark. The birthday girl started crying over the commotion, so I took her aside to calm her down. My husband followed and started arguing about how I was overreacting, causing a scene in front of guests. I snapped, saying I didn't need him there if he was going to act like that. Our guests, including my parents, looked uncomfortable and exchanged glances. After the party ended, I checked my phone and saw a text from my husband demanding I apologize for embarrassing him. Late that night, my parents offered to watch the kids while I took a break and went to a nearby diner for coffee. At the diner, I ran into an old friend from college who was in town for work. We chatted about life, and he mentioned he was now a therapist, which really hit me. The next day, my husband came home with a surprise. He was taking the kids for a weekend trip to his parents' house. I was surprised but didn't protest, wanting to enjoy some time alone. When they got back, the kids were excited, but my husband acted distant and cold. I found a receipt in his jacket for a hotel, dated during the weekend he was away. Confronting him led to a heated argument where he claimed it was just for a work event, but I wasn't convinced. The next evening, I decided to look through our shared computer and found messages from an unknown number. The messages talked about meeting up and included flirty language. Instead of confronting him again, I decided to focus on my job and kids, putting the situation on hold. Weeks passed, and my husband continued to act weird, often disappearing for hours without explanation. I started working overtime, determined to save money for a potential move to a different city. One night, while at home, I got a call from an unknown number and decided to answer it. It was my husband's sister, who said she had concerns about her brother's behavior. She mentioned having seen him with another woman multiple times and urged me to confront him. She planned a family dinner to discuss everything, but kept her info to herself. During the dinner, I calmly talked about the growing distance in our relationship and asked my husband what was going on. He denied everything, but I laid out the evidence I had gathered, including the hotel receipt and messages. My husband finally snapped, admitting to spending time with someone else, but claimed it was just a distraction. I ended the dinner abruptly, saying I needed time to think about our future together. Edit. After the dinner, my husband begged me to stay, but I needed space. My sister and parents were supportive, offering to let me stay at their place until I figured things out. My sister's therapist friend visited and helped me process everything. He emphasized the importance of self-care and rebuilding my confidence. I started therapy sessions, which helped with my autism and relationship issues. My husband continued to reach out, consistently apologizing and begging for a second chance. After some time, I felt ready to talk, so I invited him over when the kids were at school. I told him I wanted a separation to focus on myself and the kids. He was upset, but agreed to discuss the details. We talked about living arrangements, finances, and co-parenting. He understood the need for space and was willing to support our transition. It's unclear where we'll end up, but I'm hopeful. Am I the idiot for catching my girlfriend cheating and refusing to believe her? Just friends. Excuse. After work one day, I came home and my girlfriend wanted to show me some baby jumper seats because the baby liked his cousins so much. She handed me her phone, and while I was scrolling through Amazon, she received a text message. I looked up to see who it was to let her know, but the only word I saw was booby and a guy's name. So obviously I was interested and decided to look. With only 2 minutes of looking, there were multiple text messages from a guy, an ex and a friend of over 20 years, asking for booby pics, and from the gaps in the conversation, I can only assume there were deleted messages. I got upset, deleted the message that was most recently sent, and went back to scrolling through Amazon, trying to figure out what to do next. I had convinced myself that I could be misinterpreting what I saw, so at the soonest opportunity, I needed to get more information. Before, "Why didn't you just ask her?" gets brought up, I found out she had spent $1,500 in a month on unnecessary Amazon purchases at a time we were struggling, and when confronted, she lied the whole time. In my mind, with something as serious as this, I had to see for myself. The opportunity presented itself when I came home from work. She had the baby on her while her phone was on the table, so I grabbed the phone, said I had to use the restroom, and began looking. Originally, I began scrolling fast through the messages to see if I saw pictures and didn't see any, but quickly realized I had made it over a year back and decided to start reading and taking screenshots. I found messages talking about kissing, intimacy favors, meeting up, warning him I was on the way, and them flirting back and forth. My blood was boiling, so I told her what I found, packed a bag of clothes, and slept at the work site in my car for the better part of a week. When confronted more on it, she said everything was all jokes, that he was an ex and a friend of 20 years, and this is just how they talked. I asked why I hadn't been introduced or why he was avoiding me, and she said he didn't like meeting people. Her mother even backed the idea that that's just how they talked. I told my girlfriend and her mom that whether anything physical happened between the two of them or not, the text messages are enough in my book to be considered cheating. In response to that, her mother told me she had actually been cheated on, and I'm blowing this out of proportion. I am emotionally, physically, mentally, and financially broken because of all this, and I would just like to hear others' opinions on this. If it is necessary to get more information, I can transfer some of the triggering texts in comments later. Now for an update as questions are coming in. This is not fake, as much as I would like it to be. I was questioning whether the baby was mine, not the age of the baby. We are not married. I've talked to attorneys, and I'm actively trying to sort that out. I snuck an at-home paternity test and am awaiting results. I know they can't be used in court, but for my own sake, I did it. I'm in a lease with her at an apartment where I do not stay but continue to pay for all her and my bills until she gets a job. Maybe the wrong move. Trying to be as amicable as possible, but it gets twisted into me wanting to get back together with her, so I don't know that it's an option. Thank you for the feedback. I am flying blind, so any advice is greatly appreciated. Now, for a few comments before the update. We've been friends for 20 years, but he doesn't like meeting people, so I've never introduced you to him over a 6-year relationship, is one of the stupidest explanations for hiding an affair partner that I've ever heard. If he cares about his friend, then he'll get over his meeting people phobia and share his record of their chats without the photos deleted because the stability of her family depends on it. Unless, of course, it's actually his family. The denials and minimization from your girlfriend make this an unlivable situation. Forget the mother, she cannot be trusted. Try to match up times with days on your calendar and schedule. When they talked about meeting, was she someplace else? When she warned that you were on your way home, were you? If the timeline fits, then I would say it's 100% certain that they were doing what they were texting. Hit the eject button. Your girlfriend has 2 boyfriends. Now for the update. After a few days of crashing in my car, I decided to go back home and talk to my girlfriend about the messages again. I was still a mess, but I felt like I had to deal with it. So I walked in and found her chilling on the couch, scrolling through her phone, looking all relaxed. It was like she was just waiting for me to come back and take care of her. The vibe was off, but I tried to stay calm. I wasn't going to let her see me all upset. I asked her straight up about the flirty text, just wanting a straight answer, no games. She just laughed it off again, saying it was all just jokes. Seriously? Her mom walked in right then, backing her up, and I was just done. I couldn't even deal with the 2 of them right now. So, I left the room, feeling like I was about to lose it, and decided to go to my parents' house for a few days instead. I needed to clear my head. When I got back home to pack more of my stuff, I noticed my girlfriend had left her phone unlocked on the table. I know I shouldn't have, but curiosity got the better of me, and I quickly checked her messages. What I found was even worse. I found more sketchy conversations, including plans to meet up with her ex that she had previously denied. I mean, she was really trying to play me. I took screenshots of everything because I was determined to use it if necessary. I wasn't going down without a fight. The following weekend, my parents invited me to a family barbecue, encouraging me to bring my girlfriend. I was really unsure about it, but I decided to invite her, hoping for some normalcy. At the barbecue, she was overly friendly, like nothing had happened between us. I was just sitting there, simmering inside. I noticed her laughing and joking with my younger sister, and it just annoyed me. My brother made a comment about how we were all excited for the new baby, and I felt the pressure. I knew he was just trying to be nice, but it was like a punch to the gut. I got home late that night and found her asleep on the couch. I decided to wake her up and confront her about the plans I found in the texts. She got defensive, insisting it was all harmless and that I was overreacting. I could feel my blood boiling. The argument escalated, and she stormed off to the bedroom, leaving me alone with my thoughts. The next morning, I got a text from her ex, asking if they were still on for dinner that week. I was livid, but decided to play it cool. Instead of confronting her right away, I came up with a plan. I pretended everything was fine and agreed to join her for dinner with friends later that week. On the day of the dinner, I decided to show up unannounced at the restaurant where they were meeting. I wanted to catch them in the act. I walked in and spotted her and her ex at a table, laughing and sharing a plate of food. The sight fueled my anger, but I kept my cool and approached them with a smile. The ex looked shocked to see me, and my girlfriend's face went pale when she saw me. I revealed that I had seen the text messages and made it clear that I knew everything. The ex tried to play it off, acting all chill, but the tension was thick. I calmly told my girlfriend that I had packed my things and was moving out. She started to protest, but I cut her off, stating she had made her choices. I left the restaurant, leaving them both in stunned silence. A week later, I got a message from her mom, asking me to reconsider. I ignored the message because I felt confident in my decision. The next day, I applied for an apartment, ready to start fresh. Now I'm just waiting to hear back about the apartment, and honestly, I can't believe I put up with that for so long. I thought we were building a life together, and then I find out she's just been playing me the whole time. Like, what was the point of all that? My friends are saying I should just move on, but it's hard to let go of all that time and hope we had. I don't know. Maybe I'll try to date again once I'm settled, but right now I just need to focus on me. I'll keep you guys posted if anything else happens, I guess. Edit. I want to clarify a few things that have come up. The baby is not mine. I made sure to get that checked out, and it's confirmed. As for the lease, I'm still stuck with it for a few more months until it ends. I plan to go through the landlord to get out of it sooner, but it's a process. Am I the idiot for asking my wife to leave after finding flirty texts from another man? My wife and I have been married for 15 years. We have 2 children together, and she has one that also lives with us. Her child is the product of the affair she had 5 years ago with a married man she worked with at the time. I found out about the affair and the pregnancy at the same time. It had been a few months since we had intimacy. Not my choice, by the way. I tried, but there was always some excuse, and after a month of rejection, I just stopped trying. So she knew that she couldn't pass the baby off as mine, so she came clean. I contacted a lawyer the next day and was ready to divorce. So I moved into a hotel for a while until things could be sorted out. I figured she may go live with the guy she was sleeping with, but he wasn't interested in leaving his wife or kids. The guy wanted her to terminate the pregnancy, but she wouldn't. They never spoke again after he suggested that, so I couldn't stay at a hotel forever, and my wife got fired because of the affair, so she was unemployed. I couldn't really afford 2 homes, not without severely affecting my children's quality of life. So I went back home, and my wife and I agreed to just live as roommates and be civil around the kids. I figured within a few months we would be in a financial condition to separate properly. But it never happened. First, I stayed to help her through the pregnancy, then with the newborn, and before I knew it, 2 years had passed. My relationship with my wife improved during that time. She went to therapy and apologized to me constantly during those 2 years. So I forgave her, but wouldn't agree to give the marriage another try. We never officially divorced, but we were no longer a couple, just roommates and co-parents. I ended up falling in love with her child, a little girl. So she became mine along with my other 2, and I stayed for another 3 years. Now here I am 5 years after her affair, and really don't know what I want to do. We started having intimacy again last month. She'd been trying to initiate for years, and I finally gave in. That's been good, better than it ever was before. But that decision to give in has brought things to a head, and I feel I have to decide to either try and truly reconcile or finally move out. It's not fair to leave my wife in limbo when I know she wants to reconcile. What my wife did was so terrible, and I know I'd be crazy to actually pursue reconciling our relationship. But I do still love her. I never stopped. And I may be a fool to believe this, but I think she loves me too. At least now she does. For the past 5 years, she's been free to do as she wishes, and so was I. Like I said, we've been roommates, not people in a monogamous relationship. She could have dated or slept with as many men as she wanted, but she hasn't even tried. She goes to work and home, nowhere else. I can track her phone, so I know. I, on the other hand, did briefly date another woman shortly after her baby was born. It didn't last long, but it changed my wife. She started going to therapy after that and confessed to me later on that it ended the life of her seeing me with someone else, so she knows how I must have felt. I don't see those 2 things as equal, but whatever. So am I crazy to consider reconciling? How many years of changed behavior is enough to prove someone has truly changed? To add, a lot of people are saying she only stayed with me because the other guy wouldn't leave his wife. My wife had broken off the affair prior to finding out she was pregnant. They were never in love with each other. After I moved out, she went and told her lover that she was pregnant with his child and asked if he wanted to be involved in the child's life. It was then he asked her to terminate the pregnancy, had his wife kicked him out, and had he wanted to try and have a relationship for the child's sake, She said she would have tried. But that was only if I was out of the picture. She begged me to forgive her and give her another chance before even telling him she was pregnant, but I wouldn't at the time. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I would not have made the same choices you did to get yourself into this situation. But if I found myself in this situation, I would try to reconcile. You're already married, you're co-parenting, cohabitating, and being intimate. You're emotionally invested in your biological kids and your adopted child. I think you're going to be happier fully committing rather than removing yourself at this point. If you could go back in time and leave when the affair happened, that would be choice 1. But you can't, and you're basically back together anyway. Get couples counseling, but give it a shot. Worst case, if it blows up later, at least you can tell your kids you tried. Comment 2. I know I'll get downvoted, but here's my take. Life is messy. Your situation is messy. There are children involved. You and your wife love each other. There are no guarantees in life. So what is the worst that can happen if you try it? Your eyes are open now. Starting over with someone new is a roll of the dice. Starting over with the woman who you have history with is also a roll of the dice. What won't work is if you are still angry at her for the history and keep bringing it up. Of course, it is still going to be there. Let's put it this way. What if you get another 5 years before things go south again? Well, at least you have 5 good years. Now for the update. A month has gone by since my last post, and honestly, things have felt pretty stable around here. I mean, I don't want to mess it up, but we were just going through life, co-parenting our kids and her daughter, who was the result of her affair a few years back. So this is where we are. We had our daughter's birthday party at a bowling alley, and let me tell you, it was awesome. We put on this great front for the kids, acting like we were the perfect family. We even had her daughter from the affair with us. I gotta admit, I organized a special bowling lane just for her, since the kids were super excited about that. The whole vibe was chill, everyone was laughing, and we stuffed our faces with pizza. I mean, who doesn't love pizza at a birthday party, right? So, in the middle of all the bowling chaos, my wife pulls me aside and is like, "We should take a family trip together. How about a weekend getaway?" I won't lie, my heart kind of sank. I mean, I thought we were doing okay, but should we really do a family trip? I hesitated, remembering all the stuff from the past, but I agreed to think about it because, I want to keep the peace and all that. A week later, we were having a nice family dinner at home, and I noticed my wife's phone lighting up on the table with a text notification. I know, I shouldn't have looked, but curiosity got the best of me. I glanced at the screen and saw a message from some guy I didn't even recognize. It was casual, but the dude threw in a heart emoji, and I can't even explain how that struck a nerve in me. So, I decided to confront my wife about it that night after the kids went to bed. She played it cool at first, brushing it off as just a friend from work, but I kept pressing for details. As we were talking, she revealed that she'd been texting this guy for work-related support. I still wasn't buying it, to be honest. A few days later, I noticed she had been spending extra hours at the office, working late and stuff. I started to get suspicious, so I decided to take a day off from work to see what was really going on. I drove by her office, and guess what? Her car was still in the lot well after hours. When I peeked through the window, I see her sitting with the same guy from the text, and they were sharing a laugh. I don't know, man, it made me uneasy, so I left without being seen. That evening, I confronted her again, and she insisted it was nothing, just this work project. I wasn't convinced, but I played it cool. The next day, I casually mentioned we should have a family dinner at a restaurant to gauge her reaction. She got all nervous and suggested we do it another time, which definitely raised my suspicions. So, I decided to invite my parents to the dinner. Yeah, I thought it would add some pressure and see how she'd act. We set the dinner at our favorite Italian restaurant. The one filled with memories from better times. During dinner, my wife got this text and excused herself to the restroom. I took the chance to glance at her phone again, and this time I found multiple flirty messages. My heart was racing with anger, but I thought, let's have some playful revenge. I shared the details of the messages with my parents during dinner, acting like it was a casual conversation. My mom looked concerned, and my dad made a few pointed comments about trust and relationships. When my wife returned, the whole atmosphere was tense. She immediately sensed something was off, and my dad bluntly asked her about the guy. Her face went pale, and she stammered, trying to explain. But honestly, the damage was done, and we all just fell silent. After dinner, I told her we needed to talk at home. Once we were home, I laid everything out, showing her the texts and how I felt totally betrayed. She was defensive at first, but then broke down, admitting she had crossed a line. I mean, wow, right? I decided to turn the tables a bit. I asked her to leave the house for a few days to think about our future. She packed a bag and left, giving me space to reconsider everything. During her absence, I focused on improving my relationship with her daughter. We planned fun activities together, like going to the park and baking cookies. Honestly, it was good for both of us. A few days later, my wife reached out and we agreed to meet at a coffee shop to discuss things. She showed up looking all remorseful, and we had an adult conversation about boundaries and trust. We made a plan to work on our relationship, but we both agreed it would take time. It's a mess, and we have a long way to go, but for now, we're trying to figure it all out. Edit. We have been living together for 8 years, co-parenting our 3 kids, and her daughter from the affair is now 10 years old. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.